Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. It's your girl, Miss Honey, here with another video. I just did an upload regarding the whole Portia Williams, Simon Bondia, whatever. That whole debacle. Hopefully it's not a debacle, but seems very debacle-ish. So I talked about that. I just gave my little opinion on that. I'm trying to give you guys a little bit more content. Also, I kind of want to speak out a little bit more digitally with regards to my feelings on opinions on certain situations and subject matters. As you guys know, I have kind of revamped my channel to be just a little bit more positive, uplifting, motivational, kind of, so to speak. I'm just not dealing with a whole lot of debauchery, but i.e. reality TV shows and that type of thing. Although I do have my opinions on things, right? But I want to bring you more of those opinions on things that I'm reading in the daily paper. And by the paper, I mean online. No one's reading the paper anymore, the actual newspaper anymore. And things that I find interesting. From what I know about my honeybees, you guys are out there and you guys are reading headlines and captions, and you at least have some knowledge of a cornucopia of different topics and subject matters. So I think that some of the things that I find interesting, we can have the opportunity to talk about it and maybe share with one another what we've read, what we've learned, that type of thing. And it doesn't always have to be in this really, celebrity type fashion, right? So yesterday I am minding my business, or as James Caldwell would say, in these streets, in my travels. Okay, that's what he says. And so I read on Yahoo, and I earmarked the article about John Allen Muhammad, who was a partner in crime to Lee Boyd Malvo. Lee Boyd Malvo, if you remember correctly, was the DC sniper. All of this unfolded like in 2002, around that time. Well, there is going to be a Vice series coming out, and I believe Vice is on HBO. I think it is. And there's going to be a Vice series that is going to just be talking about the whole situation. But more importantly, they're going to have some conversations that John Allen Muhammad shared for the series. It's going to be called Sniper, right? And so I went out and found the article, and I thought we could talk about it really quick. The article that I'm going to be reading from is in the Daily Beast, and it was published on May 9th. The author of the article is Nick Schager, 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 something like that. And it talks about, the title of the article is "The New Vice docuseries I Sniper provides the definitive account of John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo's 2002 reign of terror that left 10 people dead." Now, I've seen several stories about Lee Boyd Malvo, including one of the first stories that I found fascinating was being told from the perspective of an abused woman, because it was told from one of those shows where the woman is leaving an abusive relationship, or how bad this abusive relationship went. Well, Lee Boyd's wife, what we found out, it all started because he kidnapped their children after she decided she was going to divorce and leave him, because he was abusive in a myriad of ways. He went and took the kids. She had the kids taken back. It took a while for her to find the kids, get the kids, and take the kids back, right? And because she was able to acquire their children back and get sole custody, he went on this shooting rampage. And the reason why he did it was because eventually he was going to kill her, and he wanted them to blame it on this phantom sniper, right? He killed all of these people just so he could kill her and get away with it. This is how sick and twisted his mind is, right? But what I did not know, I don't know if you guys knew, that I thought it was strange. I thought it was odd, but because John Allen Muhammad was considerably younger than Lee Boyd Malvo, and Lee Boyd Malvo had lost his children, and Muhammad was kind of estranged from his family, and was considered to be like this rejected younger person. I really thought it was like this, kind of sick pseudo father-son relationship. I had no idea that they were lovers. None. You guys tell me if you knew. Did you know? I had no idea. So I started reading the article. I was like, what? Listen, I don't know reality is so much stranger than fiction. I think that's why it pisses me off that reality shows are so orchestrated now, because, honestly, the reality of reality is bizarre and scary. So much more scarier than any horror genre we could ever be in, right? I find it way more terrifying, right? So again, this article is by Nick Shager, or Skager. And it says, in I, Sniper, Lee Boyd Malvo speaks at length about the 2002 reign of terror he and partner John Allen Muhammad carried out in D.C., in the D.C. area, resulting in 10 deaths. Yet, despite using audio clips from his phone calls as narrations, Vice 8-part docuseries, which premiered on the 10th, which was yesterday, is the most notable for putting its prime emphasis on the pair's innocent victims and the countless friends and family members and loved ones left to cope with the unthinkable tragedy. It is, to its admirable credit, it's a true crime affair that seeks to understand its monsters, while simultaneously recognizing and highlighting the fact that such comprehension doesn't necessitate empathy, especially when the atrocities in question are so inexcusably heinous as these. Spearheaded by director Ursula McFarlane, I, Sniper's calling card is those phone conversations with Malvo from Virginia's Red Onion State Prison, where he's currently serving multiple life sentences. In them, the killer recounts in exacting and chilling detail both the sniper's attacks he perpetrated as a 17-year-old and the troubling upbringing in Jamaica that led him to the welcoming arms of Muhammad. Okay, I made a mistake. Malvo was the 17-year-old, the young guy. Muhammad was the older guy who did all of this to ultimately try to kill his ex-wife. So Malvo is the younger, right? So I stand corrected on that, you guys. 17-year-old troubled upbringing in Jamaica that led him into the welcoming arms of Muhammad, a Gulf War veteran with a surplus of rage and a desire to unleash it on his homeland. Abandoned by his dad, abused by his mom, and eventually left to fend for himself, Malvo found in Muhammad a father figure who promised to love him as he did his own biological offspring. From the offset, though theirs was a bond built on exploitation, with Muhammad becoming not only Malvo's surrogate parent, but also his lover. Ooh, let me tell y'all something. The devil don't care. He don't care. Let me finish. But also his lover, as well as his mentor. How you mentoring? You teaching murder? Inappropriate sex acts? It's inappropriate because the boy is 17 and under his influence. That's what I'm telling you. Okay? Inappropriate sexual activities. Just what you mentoring? Oh, okay. As well as his mentor pouring all of his long simmering hate and resentment into the impressionable, desperate for acceptance teen. Muhammad's gripes were many. He despised the military, white people, and just about every American institutional structure. However, he reserved his greatest enmity for his second wife, Mildred, who dared to take back their kids after Muhammad had kidnapped them. The loss of his abducted brood seems to have been the proverbial match that lit Muhammad's homicidal spark, and he soon began molding Malvo into his instrument of destruction. Friends and relatives suspected that something was up with their relationship, but no one foresaw what was to come. The cold-blooded murder of Kenya Cook, the niece of Mildred's friend in Tacoma, Washington, followed by violent robberies, shootings, and slayings in Arizona, Louisiana, Alabama, and Georgia. All of those initial acts were merely a test run for Malvo and Muhammad's grand scheme in Washington, D.C., the epicenter of American power, and thus Muhammad's venue of choice to strike fear in the heart of the Republic by proving that everyone was vulnerable, even children. What transpired was a 22-day nightmare in which 13 individuals, white and black, young and old, well-off and working class, were shot, 10 of them fatally in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Because Malvo and Muhammad's intention was to terrorize in increasingly escalated fashion, each victim was chosen at random at gas stations, on street corners, and in parking lots that afforded the killers ideal vantage points and easy escape routes. They committed these crimes in a customized 1990 blue Chevy Caprice. With Malvo lying in the trunk and firing through the rear keyhole, it was a stealthy plot, and the two benefited from the fact that an earlier eyewitness said they had seen a white box truck near the scene, thereby sending police for the better part of the next 3 weeks on a wild goose chase for the wrong vehicle. With no other ballistics-related leads, law enforcement was stymied, which proved to Malvo that Muhammad was right. No one could stop them from exacting their revenge. The question, of course, is revenge against what? Excuse me, you guys. iSniper connects the dots of Malvo and Muhammad's troubled past and despicable 2002 presence, but no convincing argument is made that Muhammad, the mastermind behind this madness, had suffered losses. Okay, let me read that again. Sniper connects the dots of Malvo and Muhammad's troubled past and despicable 2002 presence, but no convincing argument is made that Muhammad, the mastermind behind this madness, had suffered losses that weren't of his own making. But be it his unhinged military tenure, his marital craziness, or his transformation of Malvo into an assassin, Muhammad comes across as a man righteously angry over things that were his own fault. As for Malvo, his cold, clinical recitation of his murderous conduct, the claims of remorse, neuters any sorrow one might feel for his adolescent travail. His present day compunction is far too little too late. Just as the case he made for his own victimhood vis-a-vis Muhammad sounds like an accurate and yet insufficient explanation. He knew that gunning down men and women and children was dreadfully wrong, yet, in order to maintain Muhammad's affection, he actively and enthusiastically chose to do it, and even got a thrilling kick from it, as he explains that post-shooting sex with Muhammad was exceptionally exciting and delivered a high. Malvo and Muhammad's rampage of retribution and punishment was unforgivable, as Montgomery County Police Chief Charles A. Moose says. There's just no excuse for their behavior, none whatsoever. To hammer home that point, Sniper consistently juxtaposes Malvo's recollections with prolonged, heart-rending interviews with the wives, brothers, aunts, and friends of the duo's victims, as well as some of those who survived their encounters. Those accounts turned out to be vital, providing an up-close and personal view of the anguish and trauma that Malvo and Muhammad brought about and the lingering scars left behind by this ordeal. They're the human face of this awful tale, stricken with grief, regret, guilt, and fury over senseless crimes that robbed them of loved ones who were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. Comprised of news reports, crime scene footage, 911 calls, Malvo penned in illustrations, maps, and chats with the patrolmen, detectives, reporters, and doctors. Sniper is comprehensive enough to earn the description definitive. Yet more than its insight into the mind of its young subject, by extension, Muhammad, who was executed in 2009 by lethal injection, what separates it from much of the true crime pack is its dogged refusal to forget the real, incalculable horror at the center of this story. Malvo is frequently heard but never seen, while the countenances of his and Muhammad's victims and those close to them remain front and center. So we hear a lot of his voice, his recollection of things, while the victim stories are being told, basically. That directorial decision is critical and commendable, allowing the series to pay a fitting tribute to the individuals who deserve to be remembered while keeping its central villain largely faceless in the dark and out of sight, where he chose to live and kill with his murderous mentor, and where he'll now remain for the remainder of his days. That's the end of the article. I just thought it was hugely fascinating that Malvo and Muhammad were actually lovers. I mean, technically, I don't know if you can say that. A 17-year-old kid, can't necessarily be lover to this grown a man, right? It was an inappropriate relationship, and definitely Malvo was taken advantage of. He was prime pickings, right? He was looking for definitely a male figure and some type of familial love, right? This sense of family, in other words, and love of family. And so therefore, Muhammad, who had predatory behavior, even in his marriage, even in his controlling behavior in his marriages, saw this individual who had this longing and saw this as an opportunity, I think, to mold and shape Malvo in a way that he couldn't mold and shape his wives, or he didn't get an opportunity to mold and shape his children. Because make no mistake about it, he would have molded and shaped his children to do some of the same things, to do heinous things. His mental instability definitely would have impacted those children. Her fighting to get her children back was the best thing she could have done. She actually saved their lives. And I don't remember if he had boys and girls, or if he just had all boys or all girls. I'm not really sure what the sexes of the children were, but considering what he did here with Malvo, how he acted out sexually with Malvo, I wouldn't be surprised if he had girls and he made them his wife, and made the boys into killers, or made the boy, what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised how twisted his mind would have been with an audience of kids as opposed to just this one. Look at what he did with just one. What he could have accomplished if he had been allowed to get away with, if he was able to get away with his own children, keeping custody, not custody, but having custody of his own children, what he could have accomplished. I hesitate to say custody because he was no type of custodian, right? Like the worst type of custodian, but he was their kidnapper, and he would have eventually, it's no doubt in my mind, would have become their terrorizer. It's just very, very telling. I think it's a super interesting story, and I definitely think that it's worth evaluating. I think it's important because we need to understand. We really need to understand. If we can't understand what makes a mind snap, if we can't understand the evolution of mental instability, we can at least try and understand the behaviors. And by understand, I mean being able to recognize and discern the behaviors, right? That's one way, one line of defense for ourselves, right? The other line of defense, as we know, is the Father, right? Like when he sends those alarm bells off for you, you got to get low. You know what I'm saying? You got to duck and hide, run for cover, right? You know what I'm saying? Pull out, pull up, like put a halt on everything until sorry, you guys, until you know how to move a little better, right? Until you're sure the coast is clear, because the enemy is out here. This one was executed, was caught, was jailed, and was eventually executed by lethal injection. But there are millions of others out there. And we just have to be careful. Now more than ever, honeybees, we have to be careful, because there is a whole cluster of mentally unstable human beings. And some of it is fun and whimsical and eclectic and, just, entertaining, so to speak. And some of it is quite deadly. All right. So I want us to just look at it from that position in terms of the fact that the fact of the matter is that like the Bible says, he walks to and fro, seeking whom he may destroy, devour, right? Yeah. And we don't need to forget that. We don't need to forget that because we are kind and we are loving and we are caring. And that makes us sitting ducks for people who are looking for those who trust enough to love, who trust enough to be kind, and who trust enough to be caring, right? We have to be able to recognize behaviors. A lot of it starts with these unhealthy relationships, right? The relationship starts to feel dirty, weird, awkward, out of place. You got alarm bells going off every which kind of way. You're being controlled. You're being manipulated. You're being handled. You're being managed. You know what I'm saying? These are the red flags that tell us to get out of there. Go now. Run, do not walk. Right? Whether you are marrying a man or a woman, because it's all on both sides of the gender lines. It doesn't see color. It is colorless in terms of it is the spirit of the thing. And we know that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Come on now, but against principalities. Oh yes, that's what we talk about. We're talking about principalities. It's more prevalent now than ever, especially with social media. They were able to get away with this for a period of over 22 days. Okay, 10 people dead, countless people injured. And it was about a man who was clearly bisexual, trying to control a woman with a man with a young boy that he was having sex with and teaching to murder. Now you wrap all of that up and try to make it make sense from a human standpoint. Oh no, it's about the spirit of a thing. It's about principalities and how we can stay out of the grip, the figure four stronghold. Okay, we wrestle not. Russell, figure four. Okay. You with me? Uh-huh. How we can not get caught up and get pinned down. Because he out here, people. He out here. And this story is just a testament to it. Okay? These were two men of color. A lot of times we know that some crimes go on for a prolonged period of time because they're being done by men who are of Caucasian ethnicity, right? They're Caucasians. A lot of times Caucasians are able to get away with something for as long as they do because they are Caucasians. They're not considered to be bad or evil or in the wrong. And so they're not stopped. They're not pulled over. They're not questioned as much as black people. This man, Muhammad, was able to overcome that by hiding. Okay. He knew as a black man being out in public when someone got shot, he would probably be the first one to be questioned, right? So the idea was to hide in the trunk and shoot through a hole in the trunk, which he got away with for a long time. The article talks about it, and the docuseries talks about it. This is why Malvo thought he was brilliant, because the plan, he went on with the plan. The plan went off without a hitch for so long. So now we're talking about how calculating and how clever evil can be. The principalities can be, right? A lot of times things sound good, okay, but they don't make sense. They really don't make sense, okay, because at the end of the day, it's still wrong behavior. So just be smart. Just be smart. I feel like reading these types of articles, watching these type of docuseries can definitely teach us something. I am absolutely completely shocked that they were lovers. I am. Just because of everything we knew about Muhammad prior to him meeting Malvo. And to learn this uh, is bizarre. Is bizarre. To hear Malvo regurgitate the fact that the nights before the shooting they would have this explosive sex that left him on a high, for him to still feel as though or still have that same affinity for the memories of that high, says a lot about still who he is, and still who he still is. You know what I'm saying? Who he has become. It doesn't sound like he abhors it. It sounds as though he envies those memories. And that says something as well. That says something as well. You meet someone and they don't have a lot of remorse for bad behaviors. They're regurgitating stories that horrify you, but they seem to have affection for. Red flag. That's all I'm saying. Y'all tell me what you think. Put it down below. I'm eager to hear. Did you guys know that they were lovers? I had no idea. I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes, right? And if you leave it a scab, you never know the pus and the bacteria that lies beneath a thing. But definitely, this is a story that I'd like to see more about, just so I can learn more about the behaviors and how evil moves in this world. Y'all tell me what you think. Y'all put it down below. Until next time, honeybees. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I'll holla.